to me.
Are you gonna do the countdown? What's up? John Melton coming to you live with another episode of Money Monday. Super fired up and excited because I've got two of my favorite humans, two of my favorite rock stars on today's episode. We're going to have some fun, talk some business. Wow, up close and personal, Nadya.
I know, I was like.
I forgot that does happen sometimes. Nadya's in the background working her magic. But we're going to talk about team culture. And I think this is something that we probably don't talk about enough, but it is literally the X factor. If you want to build a business, if you want to build a network marketing business long-term, it's everything, because there's going to be ups and downs. There's going to be trying times. There's going to be adversity. But if you have good culture within your organization, you've got leadership in place, you've got tools and systems, there's relationships, people will push through those tough times. They'll persevere. And I can tell you, myself, Amber, and Rena, we've all been through some tough times prior to working together and working together. And I can tell you, if it wasn't for our culture, I don't think we'd all be here together today. And I can tell you also that I've been a part of bad culture. How many of us, let me know in the comments, how many of us have experienced a bad culture where it's toxic? There's drama, there's negativity, there's jealousy. There's, maybe frustration and fighting amongst leadership. That's not what any of us want to be a part of. And how many of us would also agree that network marketing is hard enough? So we want this to be a fun environment. We want people to be excited to be a part of our team. We want people to be excited to promote the products and be a part of this organization, this company, this business, whatever company you're a part of. And this will be a totally generic training. So I don't care which network marketing company you're a part of. We do this training every single Monday at 5 p.m. Eastern. So feel free to share, feel free to tag your teammates. We'll keep it generic, but I will tell you that myself, Amber, and Rena, we all work together, and these are two of the strongest leaders I know. And here's why I love both of them, because it wasn't easy. It wasn't like they left a company, came over, brought a huge team, immediately experienced success, drama-free. Now Amber, I will tell you, she did have fast success as far as like rank advancing quickly, but she went through some tough stuff. But it was the culture that her team had that kept them together. Rena was someone that came in, and you know what? She almost left network marketing. She was about done. How many of us have ever been like, the dealers in the casino? They do this, like they don't have any chips in their hands. I think that's why they do that. Okay, that was Rena. Rena was like, you know what? I'm out. I'm done. Have fun. But she was like, all right, this looks different. Let me give it one last shot. And she just kept chipping away and built up this like incredible team culture. Like her team right now is absolutely on fire. She's got one of the top teams, not just in Canada, but in all of North America. And both of them have built organizations. They've gone out there and had success. So they know what good culture looks like, and they know what bad culture looks like, as do I. I've been doing this for almost 20 years. So if you don't know me, my name's John Melton, been in network marketing for a hot minute, but we help network marketers just like you go from average to savage. We help you build a business that you're in love with. How many of us want to be in love with our business? We want to be excited about what we're doing, and we want to feel like it's purpose driven, like we're making a difference. And ultimately, retention stems from quality culture. Like you will have people that maybe start slow, but because they feel like they're contributing, they feel like they're a part of something, they feel like they're home, there's less likelihood of them quitting in those early days, those early years, in fact, because they feel like, you know what? I love being here. I love being a part of this. And it's more than just making money. Now, don't get me wrong. We love making money. How many of us smashed the heart button? We got involved in network marketing, be truthful, to make money. but then you get involved and you realize it's so much more than that. So I'm excited for you to meet Amber and Rena. If you don't know either one of these leaders, make sure you follow them. Make sure you really pay attention to what they do on social media and how they show up in the world. And you'll see that they're all about making a difference. They're all about team culture. And here's the other thing too. They're both moms. They're both busy. They both got a lot going on. So the other reason you want a culture where you're developing other leaders is that you don't have to work 24/7. How many of us want to build a business that actually gives us time freedom? Money is great, but if you got to work 100 hours a week, no bueno. So I'm excited. Can I do this?
1 second, yeah.
Okay, Nadia's messing with, I can't see anybody, but that's okay. Amber and Rena, super excited to have you both on. I think this is the first time the three of us have done a training together. Is this right? Is this true?
Yeah.
It's awesome. So I'm excited. So Amber, maybe you could kick things off, just get started with a little bit about your story and let everybody know a little bit about your perspective. Just maybe give us like 2 minutes on what you think it means to have a quality team culture. And then we'll get into some good stuff with Rena as well and some team culture tips and strategies to help each and every one of you that are on here live. And if you're watching the replay as well.
All right. Can you hear me?
Yes, loud and clear.
Yay. Okay. So, I'm Amber DeLoof. I have not been in this industry as long as John. I'm actually not as old as he is. I've been in the industry since 2009. I started in the party plan. If anyone is a party, whoa, Nadya, keep zooming us in there.
Personal, y'all.
I'm like, dang. If anyone's a party planner, you could drop party in the comments, but I started in the party plan. I worked really, really hard in the party plan, working, 18 to 20 parties a month. And one day someone said, if you're in a car accident tomorrow, what happens to your income? And it was literally like a slap in the face to me because I was like, I lose everything. And so I started to kind of really look for true residual income and found my way into network marketing. And I always say when I got started, like John said, who started for money? Like when I got started, I kind of felt like I was jealous of the people living paycheck to paycheck because we weren't even making it to paycheck. Like we were living paycheck to 3 days before paycheck. I had a friend say, I pay cash for Christmas and cash for vacations. And I was like, dang, I don't even pay cash for my groceries at this point. And so for me, it wasn't even that I wanted more money. It was that we needed more money. We needed more money at the end of our month. And so fast forward to now, just because I want you to know a little bit about me, if you follow me on Facebook, I'm a mom of 4. I'm a homeschool mom, like not virtual school. We 100% homeschool our kids, which is a little bit more stressful. They're really dependent on me and I don't math well. So teaching math is real good for my kids over here. So we homeschool. I'm an adoptive mom, a special needs mom. I've got a lot of life going on. And, John mentioned, don't you just want to build a business with leaders that you don't have to be 100% engaged? And if you follow me at all, and if you don't, here it goes. We're literally selling our house in 3 weeks and moving into our RV. So we're going from 4,000 square feet to 400 square feet for a year while we build our house. And we're amped up to have our biggest month in the history of my time in the industry. And I have not worked very much this month, guys, because I've been so focused on my family. And so for me, building a culture of leaders was important because I really need to be able to step back when I need to. I was in a company that put the cult in culture. Anyone familiar with that, perhaps? Maybe you've been in a company like that, right? And I remember when I'll wrap this up real quick, but I remember when I adopted my baby, we were in China and it was mid-month and I was sitting on the floor of the hotel room holding a crying baby while I was sending messages, while I was running my leaders, while I was helping my team. And I couldn't even be 100% present with this toddler who didn't even know me, who I just turned her world upside down. And so it became really clear to me in that moment that culture and creating a layered leadership with solid culture was of the utmost importance so that I could be plugged in and engaged with my family 100% of the time. So that's a little bit about me.
That's actually one of my favorite things to point out about culture is that, once you develop a quality culture, you create independence.
Yeah.
And that's really what we're looking for, right? Like, right. I want to know that at some point that if, God forbid, I take a day off, a week off. And actually, I love that Rena created those boundaries and has a schedule. I'm going to have her talk about that as a mom and as someone that was like, look, I love my business. I love my team, but that's not all I am. That's not all I want to do. And essentially being able to step away so that your business not only continues to create profits, and but it's thriving, right? It's growing.
Yeah.
Like you said, you're on pace to have a record month, and you're not working as hard as you did in the beginning. And that's what we all signed up in this business for. When we first get started, the mindset is to build something long-term for that residual income. So
and
I'm excited to have you on as well. And like I said, for those of you that are just hopping on, Rena is an individual that has had experience, just like Amber, got involved, in the profession years ago, had some positive and negative experiences with a prior opportunity, was like, you know what? I don't know if I want to do network marketing anymore. But luckily she gave it one last shot, and we're so glad she did. Years of working with Rena, I can tell you that not only has she developed herself and continued to do the things that it takes to be successful, but she has created an incredible team culture where her team really does a lot of collaboration, and they work so well together, and they all love on each other. And I always say, like, I don't know if it's a Canadian thing or just a Rena team thing, but the love and the admiration and how they all work together, that team camaraderie that she has within her organization is really special. So I'm excited to first unmute, introduce you all to Rena. What's up, Rena?
Hi, guys. What's up?
What's up? What's up? So I would love for you, same thing, maybe share a little bit about your story, your background, and kind of your perspective on culture and really how important it's been for your business.
Well, when I heard Amber just share that she had just adopted her baby and she was sitting on the floor messaging, like, I didn't know if I wanted to cry or scream hearing that. Like, it just, oh man, like I don't know how she feels, but I can only imagine that feeling of being in such a vulnerable situation, and also feeling like she had to be, I know that feeling. And it's just, that's what we want to not ever have anybody feel. So thank you for having me. I'm so honored to be here, especially with you and Amber, two people I love and admire. And I'm a mom of 3 out of Toronto, Canada. And I started in network marketing. Like many people, I wanted to pay down my line of credit. That was literally the only reason. I wanted to pay $500 towards my credit line so I didn't have to use my social work income. Social workers don't make very much money. And I was paycheck, like Amber said, paycheck, a lot of similarities there, paycheck to before next paycheck type of lifestyle. And network marketing kind of fell into my world accidentally, I want to say, because I was against network marketing. I was like the prospect you hate. That was me. I was like, don't come near me with your pyramid schemes. Yeah, exactly. I really was that person. If you knew me back then, man, I was just so against these kinds of businesses until I became pregnant with baby number 2 and was really unsure how life would be working a full caseload in social work, and just, you know how it is, right? And so my husband had a bunch of guys over back in 2011 watching a UFC fight. I was out to here pregnant, and I was overhearing them have a conversation. One of the guys was telling the other guys that his wife was earning a car in her business. That's how it all started for me. And my ears perked up. I was working full-time in social work, and I said, "What does your wife do?" And he said, "Oh, you should talk to her." And I don't do justice what she does for a living. And so her and I got connected through him, and literally the rest is history. I joined her business. I really have a lot of love for her. I'm so grateful for her. She introduced me to the profession. She was an incredible mentor for me in those upcoming years. Things changed for me. I wanted to turn more online. That was a very belly to belly business model. I was out of my house. There was nothing home-based about it. I was literally, I was feeding a baby. I had one kid coloring over here, doing flip chart presentations, selling a dream I was not living. That's for sure. And then some crap happened. Some not so fun things happened. I switched companies back in 2015, and I was so naive. I had no clue what happens when you switch companies. It was like, oh my God, you just threw me to the wolves, and I literally just want a better opportunity for my family. Like, I was so just mind blown how things changed and how I was treated. And it really, really negatively impacted me to the point where I started to hate the industry. I know that's a strong word, but I was really on my way out the door. And that's when I met John in 2016. John has been a great friend to me. He really, in those early years in 2016, before I joined him in business, he was always helping me with my videos. He's like, you should watch me and my wife's trainings. I think you'd really enjoy them. The rest is history. I joined. My husband said to me, I did not want to join. And my husband said to me, he said, Rena, you have worked way too hard to throw in the towel. He's like, you've come so far. Just give it one more chance. And if it wasn't for him saying that, I would not be doing this anymore. He like pushed me to join. He liked John. He's like, this feels different. And yeah, it's been 5 years. This July will be my 5-year anniversary, and lots of ups and downs, and I wouldn't change one thing about it.
And you're also having one of your biggest months ever.
Oh yeah, this will be so last month was my biggest month in my network marketing career in 9 years. Yeah, it was our team's biggest month. And this year, I do believe we will have a record-breaking month with a lot of people having their biggest month. So,
and that's what it's
very
all about.
Exciting. Yeah.
And that's what it's all about. And I'm sure there's some women on here too going like, how do I get a husband that's like,
I know.
Can your husband coach my husband on supporting and encouraging? Like, I love that. He's like, you got this, like, give it one more shot. But I think it's everything, right? I mean, it's, this business is so tough, and there's still times where you just want to pull your hair out. But at the same time, like when you're experiencing the positive side of it, your team is winning, your team is growing, record months, big rank advancements, like people stepping up, and not just stepping up as a leader, but like stepping into their greatness. And, they show up with the posture, right? You're the posture queen. And, all of a sudden this person that was maybe, an MLM hater, right? Like maybe quitting, or maybe thinking like, I'm just going to do this for like a side thing. Like this is not a serious business. Years later, you get to watch them walk the stage. These days it's a virtual stage, but you get my point. Like there's just nothing. And this is why we're so addicted to it. This is why, and actually, would you mind? And I know this isn't really about culture, but it kind of is, because you're creating a culture where it isn't about just like hustling 24/7. So I guess it kind of is, but could you talk about how you made the decision to create boundaries where you took 2 days off and you're like, you know what, I'm putting my phone down for 2 days, not to say that like the other days you're working like, morning till night, but like, you're just not going to work like you do, or like you did before when you were really launching in your business off the ground. And you said, you know what, I'm gonna create these boundaries. I'm gonna have these 2 days with my family where I'm not gonna be, stuck to my phone. So could you talk a little bit about that and how that's impacted not just your family and your business, but how that's really been a great thing for your team as well?
Yeah, and I'm happy you bring that up, because it really is a very special conversation. We get into this business to create independence and to create the word we're fed is freedom, right? And then when we create it, then there's all these other emotions that come with it, like guilt and shame and all these other things. And when the world kind of flipped upside down in early 2020, I started to feel, I'm not going to get all spiritual here, but I really did start to question like what my purpose in life was. And I know a lot of people can relate to that. I've had those kinds of conversations, and my priorities started to shift is what started to happen. And I was like, you know what? I'm a workaholic. I am obsessed. We know that. If you're a top anything in anything, you are obsessed with it, right? So I wanted to take my obsession and create healthy boundaries around it. And so what I did was I decided for my faith, for my family, and for myself, Friday nights, it was going to be a non-negotiable. My phone got turned off, and I wasn't turning it back on till Saturday night. And that was my full day away from work, away from messages, away from everything. And I just started to do it. And I let people know, guys, this is what's happening. Like the people I talk to all the time. And then it started to become like people started to know, like, okay, you're unavailable on these days and these days. And then I started to realize people were messaging me. So where it had its most impact was when a 7-figure earner from another company that I'm not affiliated with, she messaged me and she said, "Hey, I just wanted to say thank you." And I was like, "For what?" And she said, "For putting boundaries up around your business, because you're actually making me feel and giving me permission that it's okay for me to do it too." And it really impacted me. I was like, oh my gosh. And then she shared stuff with me. And since then, so many people have shared with me how me putting those boundaries up around my life and around my priorities, how it's positively impacted them and how they actually have more respect for it, because it's showing people that you can create something awesome without sacrificing everything else. And I do want to share this one quick thing, because I do have 3 kids, and my middle, she's 9. And we were in the car, we were driving recently, and my mom was with us. And, you know, my phone goes off 24 hours a day, right? It's just the way it goes. We know how it rolls. Doesn't mean I respond to things right away, but it's always going off. So my mom made a comment and she's like, "Wow, like your phone and da 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 da." And I said, "Yeah, but I don't always respond to things right away." And she said, "Well, it feels like you're always working." And I said, "I know it feels that way because the messages are coming in, but I really don't." And then I asked my middle, and I said, because she's the quietest, and I said, "Tell me the truth. Do you want me, what would you prefer? Would you prefer I was never on my phone. I worked 9 to 5. She didn't even let me finish the statement. She said, "No, be on your phone, do what you do. I love that you're home and you're always there for me." And it was so emotional for me, because she doesn't really open up about that. But when she said that, I was like, this is what it's about. It's about our time with them. And it's about creating that boundary around them, and not using our reason for doing this as our reason for not being with them. You know what I mean? So it's taken me a long time to get here. It's been 9 years of doing a lot to get here. I've worked a lot to get here. And it makes me really happy to know that I can positively influence other people to feel okay and not guilty or shameful for protecting their boundaries.
Amen. I mean, it's so interesting too, because like you said, you had a 7-figure earner from a whole other company that was like, wow, you're making me realize that I have permission to do this with my business. Like, you shouldn't feel guilty if you take the weekends off, or you take evenings off, or maybe you just take off time here and there. You go on vacation, you're putting a house on the market, right? Like, life, like that is what it's all about. And, you know, it's interesting. It's interesting because in a previous company I was in, it was like, hey, you know, just sacrifice everything, worry about your health later, get wealthy first, worry about health later. You know, so what if you miss all your kids' like birthdays and sporting events? One day you'll buy them a house for their wedding gift with a check. You'll pay for their college tuition, you know, and they won't have to have any student loan debts. I'm like, I started thinking about that. I'm like, would I have liked my dad to never be at any of my baseball games? But then, like, you know, one day he bought my college education. No, like, that sucks. Like, I don't think that's awesome at all. And by the way, why can't we do both? That's really what it boils down to. Why can't we like get rich, have an awesome, successfully profitable, amazing business, and be an awesome mom or dad? Like, why does it have to be one or the other? So when you've created that, and I love that, and you know, it really does have to do with culture, because the truth is, you're showing your leadership and you're showing your team like you can have both. And I think that's extremely important. So thank you for sharing that. That's really good. I'm glad we talked about that. Amber,
can I say something? I'm dying.
Of course, go.
First of all, one in the comments, if Rena's idea of turning off your phone from Friday night until Saturday night gave you heart palpitations, because I almost fell out of my office chair. I was like, oh, I don't know. I'm good at turning my phone off sometimes. But, you know, I think the other thing is, and John, I love you, but you're a dude. And so it's different. And I know Rena can understand this, but like in our situation, like it's when you're a woman, you can't want it all. Right? Like your mom saying you work too much. Like if John, and John, I've used you in this example before, you've probably never heard me do this, so just love me regardless. But if John walked into like an event a restaurant, a party, and was like, yeah, bro. I imagine he says, bro. I don't know what dudes say. Yeah, bro. Shooting for $1 million a month. Dudes would high five him, right? Like, no one's going to ask the John Melton, how are you going to balance your family and your business? You don't get that question because you're a guy. Where if Rena and I are like, hell yeah, we want 100K a month, no one's high-fiving us. How are your kids going to be affected? Do you really need that much money? How are you going to work your boundaries? And so I love, Rena, that you have shown everyone that they can have that and they can have it all, but still work from a very feminine energy, if you will. Like, I think in this industry, we as women feel like we have to run with this masculine energy of go, 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 go. And, it's actually a compliment to John, because John, you are amazing at balancing, even though no one asks you to. Like, you don't miss your son's games, right? Like, you are, we talked about this before everyone got on here, how you have to balance certain things. So you're awesome at it. But like, for women, we always feel this pressure that we have to be like masculine energy, run, run, run. But then when we have the masculine energy, we're like, people are like, you're working too much. You don't see your kids enough. And so there's this crazy different balance. And so, Rena, I love that. I think culture comes into that too, right? Like, your team knows, dude, on Friday nights, your leaders are like, we step up, we answer the questions, we engage, we plug in. People learn that. And I think, when I told my leaders about selling our house and living in our camper for a year while our house is built, like, we're traveling, they know what happens when Amber camps. I get very engaged in my family, right? And I worried about telling them. And you know what they said? They were like, this is the most, Kagan Parker said, that is the most Amber DeLoof thing I have ever heard in my entire life. And I can't wait to see you do it. And she was excited, but I built a culture where my leaders are able to step up. And not only are they able to, they want to. And so I know we're going to get into like the culture of that, but I think it's important to create that culture where your leaders want to step up. And so you don't feel guilty because your leaders are like, heck yeah, unplug for the night. You deserve it. I mean, if John unplugs, I'm like, John, what are you doing with your life? I'm like, heck yeah, John, enjoy Cabo or wherever you are. Right. So, I mean, you want your leaders to respect you in a way that culture happens. So you don't have to feel guilty when you unplug. So, I mean, I had heart palpitations, but I would like to unplug my phone maybe for a day. We'll see if I can do it, Rena.
You can start off with like a Sunday or something.
Maybe like an hour, right? On a Sunday.
An hour. Oh boy, that's
90 minutes.
And maybe, Amber, you could talk about it because you kind of touched on it. Like, because for some people that gives them heart palpitations is like releasing the control, like delegation and like having others step up and run a training Zoom or a training call, or have them step up and do a training inside the team group. Now, I think maybe I'm wrong. I would think these days that's more of the norm. But back in the day, I don't know about the two of you, but like I was always in companies and businesses where it was like, they were like hardcore on like having the top leaders do the trainings and putting the top guys on stage all the time. And, it can almost become discouraging because it's the same faces, same voices. It's not as impactful, and they're definitely not as relatable because they're so big that like people can't even imagine speaking like that. They can't imagine making money like that. Yeah. And I think that the sooner you can get people to step up and start taking on that responsibility and take on that leadership role, the better. So would you mind touching on that a little bit? I think that's
I'm so stoked for that question. I'm so glad I got that one. And I'll tell you why, because coming into this year, transparency, here's what happens. My team runs, right? Like January, February, March, April. And historically in our company, that's huge times. And then what happens is in May, Amber starts camping. Okay. And I know this is not true for everyone, but you'll understand why it's important. So then Amber starts camping. And then guess what happens? People start to pull back some because they notice that I'm not as present. And I want to be clear, I don't feel guilt over that. I've been in this industry 12 years. I've earned the right, to be able to take that time in the summer and enjoy it. Like, there's a reason I built a business this way. But I still feel guilt because I'm like, man, the team isn't running the same way. I feel as though maybe I'm costing them money, right? Because they're not running the same way because I'm not there, all of those things. And so in January this year, I reached out to a ton of top earners and I was like, dude, I got to figure out how the team does not realize that Amber has pulled back because they see my face first quarter, every freaking week, right? And then all of a sudden they see other people stepping in. How do I like lessen that? And so I've done something that has given me so much more time, but it's really given my leaders more face time, because same thing, they were sick of seeing the same humans all the time. So I'm going to tell you what I did. First, it stopped being Amber's team Zoom. Here's the problem. When you're in a 9 to 5, you have to make yourself irreplaceable, right? Like you are ingrained that okay, let me try that again. Let me bring it back. How many times have you felt like you're replaceable, right? Like if you don't want to do the job here, the 9 to 5, we'll find someone who does want to, right? And so you bring that into your business where you're like, I have to be irreplaceable. Like everyone has to know how important I am and what I bring to the table. And what you get is all the stuff Rena was talking about, right? Where you have to be there 100% turned on face. It has to be your face all of the time. And then you can never step away. You can't go to China and adopt your baby without having to answer messages. Like, guys, that was one of the most gut-wrenching things on the planet for me. And so what I realized coming in this year was this was the year that Amber got replaced. and here's what I mean by that. The team Zooms are no longer Amber's team Zooms. Our team is called the Shop Mob. It is the Shop Mob team Zooms. And each month I have a certain rank that I use. Those leaders have to sign up for an entire month. Okay. They run the team Zoom every week. It is that leader's job. They have a framework. So we've given them a PDF that tells them, here's your loose framework on how to do it. Here's how you record it. Here's how you log into it, all of that. Those leaders can pull in their own leaders to highlight for that month. They can do whatever they want, but they are 100% in charge of the weekly team Zoom. That was the first thing I did. Now for that, it needed to be like your higher up level leaders, right? Like the leaders who are comfortable running this, who have all of the things, right? Like it's just a different level of leadership. But then I went, how do I highlight the leaders that aren't making the $4,000 or $5,000, $6,000 a month, right? Like how do I highlight the leaders that are up and comers that I think will be the next big leaders, right? And so what I did is I picked a different level, and on our team, we call those the people the llamacorns. Once they hit a certain level, we don't know why, that's just what they're called. Once they hit a certain level, they are the llamacorns, and they go into a special chat, and they get to sign up for what is called our weekly coaching. We call it Rise with the Llamacorns, and the same thing. They get a framework every day. They make a post or go live. They have a specific topic every day for that week. So like on Mondays, it's motivation. On Tuesdays, it's tips from the top, right? On Wednesdays, I don't remember. Oh, it's win. It's Winning Wednesday. Thursday is something where they talk about products. Like they talk about their product or a tip that they like with their product. Friday is business. Saturday is giving them some kind of IPA. So they give an IPA to the team to do. And so what this does is on Sundays, I post their picture with a cute little llamacorn frame that says Rides with the Llamacorns. They send a bio. So I post their picture with the bio. The team gets so stoked to hear from them. And then every single day, the team is watching for this leader to go live, to make a post, whatever it is. Because here's the thing, when I show up at events, it's great. People know me, right? I hit the main stage, whatever. While I love that, I love it more when someone walks up to me and my girl Kagan is beside me and they're like, oh my gosh, Kagan, that training you did changed my business. Oh my gosh, Krista and Susie, that Saturday call you guys did changed my business. Like that's what I want. But they don't know those people if I make it the Amber Show all the time. And so it also really forced people, they love to hate me a little bit for this, but it really forced people to get out of their comfort zones. Oh, cool, you don't like lives? Suck it up. The team loves you, do a live. Like it was very easy to push people and for them to see their own leadership. And so, and as we come into summer, guess what? No one's going to not notice that it's the Amber Show on the team Zoom because Amber's not running the team Zooms anymore. I get on them. I help answer questions. I'll pop in. Like I reserve full rights to take over 1 week if I want to, but it helps the team to realize that there's an entire level of leadership that does not involve me. And so I've made myself very replaceable on my team so that I have the opportunity to be irreplaceable with my family. And I think that that was the biggest thing, is be replaceable where you can and be irreplaceable where it really matters. And so that's something we've done. It's something I've done this year, and it's really gone very well. People are excited, and we haven't had to like threaten lives to get them to jump in and take a week or anything yet.
Well, I think one of the things that's really cool about that too, and it got me thinking, it really does create, and y'all should be sharing the heck out of this because this is just freaking gold. It brings that abundant mentality into play, where it's like, instead of being like, well, I don't want to share my strategies or I don't want to give away my secrets, it's like, I need to show up and provide value because I want to do as well as Susie did. I want to do as well as Kagan did. I want to step up, and I got so much from Daphne. Like, I need to show up and share my good stuff. I gotta show up and share, my tips, my ideas, and what's working for me, because it's like everybody wants to help everybody. Everybody wants to work together. And the other thing that it creates, and I know you have this on your team, Rena definitely has this too, and just our whole team has this going on. It creates a lot of sideline, like respect, team camaraderie, relationships, sometimes even like accountability, like sideline leaders literally starting their own ATM groups together, or, helping each other with group chats with prospects. And, like someone's good at TikTok, the other person's really good at recruiting. So they're like helping each other. Like, that's the stuff that fires me up. And it does create exactly what you're talking about. It creates this environment where it's not just about like, Amber has all the answers. She's the end all be all for mentorship and leadership. And it's funny how amateur leaders are like that. And, I try to think back when I first became a leader, was I like that? And I don't really remember me being like that, at least being that like hardcore, but I remember my upline was like that. I remember specifically listening to a training and being like, wow, that was really good. It was a generic trainer. We go to her event. Her name was Danny Johnson. This is back in 2007. We heard her training, and we were like, oh, she's coming to Baltimore. Let's go to her event. And we went to the event. And I remember my upline saying to me, I'll never forget this. He goes, next time you need a three-way call, why don't you call Danny Johnson? That was his mentality, because God forbid I wanted to learn from someone else that wasn't him. And it's like, nowadays, like when I have someone say, oh, I just invested in coaching with Bob Heilig, or I joined Rank Makers with Ray Higdon, or I'm going to Rob Sperry's mastermind. I'm like, fantastic. I might go too. Like, right? That's exactly what's happening. So the whole thing is like, it's a mindset shift of like, you are not, by the way, the end all be all. You're not God's greatest gift to all things knowledge, all knowing, all powerful. Like, ew. And
that's exhausting.
It's exhausting. And the truth is, no matter how talented you are, the best speakers in the world, there's people out there that just don't relate to them. They don't like their style. They don't comprehend like their way of doing things. So then they hear from someone else on the team and they go, boom, aha moment, light bulb moment. And that changes everything for their business. And it's just having, again, the abundant mentality and realizing that if you're in full control of all the things, your business is not going to grow. It's really not. You're not going to develop leadership, which is the whole point of this. So I love on that.
I think building sideline is important too. And like you said, like I've had Rena do a training for my team. I've done trainings for Rena's, and I remember like someone coming to me after Rena and they're like, oh my God, what Rena said, light bulb. I'm like, I've been saying that to you for 2 years, and Rena says it and you get it now, like all of a sudden, like boom. And so they have to hear from other people. And I mean, I think that you can never go wrong highlighting your own leaders anyway, right? Like when they step into that confidence and they feel that and they're excited and they're training, like it just changes the way they walk, right? Like they start walking around more of an as if, and instead of like, I'll never be that rank, they really start to own that. It's real special. I've been watching all these little llama corns grow so much. So I love it.
And I love llama corns. People are probably like, I don't know what a llama corn is. And they're like,
you don't either. It happened late at night. You don't know either.
It definitely creates curiosity.
But you know what? That also builds like culture too, right? Like when my crew shows up at events, I remember one time someone said, oh, it must be so nice. And I was like, what's so nice? Like, what are we talking about? And they're like, all of your leaders are local to each other. And I was like, who said that? who told you that? And they're like, well, we've seen you guys together. You guys always have so much fun. You're all obviously real close. And I'm like, yeah, because we built that. Like, please don't say it must be nice. It took a lot of work to build that. And it took a lot of time for our culture to weed out the people who don't fit that culture too. And so that we didn't have those people that didn't fit.
Can you mention that again, though? Like maybe just a little bit of a deeper dive on like not trying to make some people stay and trying to force them to be. Sometimes it's like, you know what? Maybe you're right. Maybe you should go elsewhere. Yeah.
It's, so, I mean, John mentioned, like, I had fast success when I came over, which is cool because I didn't really have that big of a team where I came from. It was because I created a culture with other leaders, right, who liked me and respected me and knew what they got. But it's pretty easy to say that I've lost a lot of very big leaders in a short span of time when I first came here. And I mean, and for anyone who's like literally teams that were doing 100K a month, I had several of those leaders walk away. And so it took a lot of, I mean, even like losing an upline along the way, like it took a long time for me to understand that sometimes culture like weeds out the people who don't quite fit, right? Like there are people, how many of us have leaders on our teams who kind of felt like, and this has happened to me, like I would just lose my whole business if this person walked away, right? Like anyone ever felt that way? Because like, I think every time I lost someone who was that rank, I thought for sure this was the time, right? And what I started to realize is the people who are on those organizations who fit the culture, they didn't leave. Those people stayed. And I'm not here to say like you have to be friends with all of your leaders either, right? But I think at some point the culture will create its own set of boundaries, if you will. And some people won't fit into those. And I think the culture, if you have a strong enough culture, it always shows those people who don't fit anymore. And it's very easy to go, you know what? Like, okay, I'll give you an example. I've lost, oh gosh, I don't know, 4 or 5 people who used to do 100K a month. It's probably been more than that. I don't want to talk about it. Okay. But last March, are we allowed to say numbers? What are the rules here? Okay. So last March, my team did like, I think 700,000, and we weeded out a whole lot of humans in the last year. And last month, my team closed at almost 1.6 million. Like, here's the thing. Flowers can't grow in an environment where they're not meant to, right? And so you have to like weed that crap out, if you will. I'm not a florist, I have a black thumb, but the point is there are people who don't fit. And when they're staying there taking up space, guess what they're blocking? They're blocking all the people who would thrive in your culture. And sometimes they're blocking their own teams, right? Like they're blocking their own teams from success when they don't fit in either. And they like, they compress that crap downward, right? So it's important.
And they don't have to leave. And they don't have to leave the company. They can just
work with you.
They can just, I've had leaders literally over the years that like they were doing pretty good, but they were like, you know what? I want to start my own team group. I want to start my own ATM group. I want to start my own chat. I'm like, dude, that's awesome. Like, that's what I want. I want you to do that. Now, sometimes maybe they do it prematurely and that's not the best decision. There's a whole other conversation there, but you're right. It's like, I don't want to have to force someone to be a part of something, or it's kind of like, back in the day, I used to like get on leaders that didn't come to the Saturday trainings. Like, where were you this morning? Like, we got to have a serious conversation. Like, I'm there to help you with your business and you're not there and it doesn't look good. And now it's like, yo, you show up, you don't show up. Like, that's up to you. But like, everything is there if you want to be a part of it. But
sometimes it's important for their culture too, right? Like, I mean, maybe, if Rena and I were on the same team, by the way, we'd make all the money. So there's no culture issue with Rena and I. But like, the point is, like, for some leaders, maybe they do flourish if they don't work directly with me, right? Just because it doesn't mean that one of us is right or wrong. It just means that we're not, if we were all the same, like this would be a really interesting world and industry. So, I mean, for them, maybe them creating their own ATM group is great. I've seen sometimes where it's too early, but then I've seen sometimes where it blows up their entire organization and it changes the culture of their own team. And so I think that it's important that we're also sensitive to the fact that when you hit a certain level, we have our own cultures too, right? Like, I mean, John's team culture is amazing. My team culture is going to be different than John's team culture. Rena's is different than mine, but they all still work. And so I think that that's important to know that it's okay if the culture weeds out people, but to still respect that it could be good for their team culture. I feel like
it's everything. It's the respect. It's like, look, you want to do your own thing, cool. Like,
right.
I'm not your boss. I'm not a dictator. I'm not the king of you. Like, your business.
You do you.
Right. You do you. I got your back. I'll support you. You know, I'll try to help all I can. But it is interesting because sometimes those are the people that end up being your top producers, right? They really step up and take on that responsibility. And it can be scary, especially when you're, you know, new to network marketing leadership. And it's like you finally cracked like $5,000 a month. You started making maybe even 10,000 a month. And it's like, you just, you know, you want to just hold on to that instead of going, you know what, maybe it's time for me to start focusing on new lines of business. Like, I'm still going to work with this team, because let's all say this also, it's very easy to work with your existing teams. It's very easy to work with the leaders that you know are already loyal and they're already plugged in and they're sold out. But the truth is, you as a leader, sometimes you need to step up and go build some new teams. And you need to go out there and work with the teams that maybe they don't have all the leadership. They don't have the duplication. They don't have the growth. You know, they're not experiencing the same level of success. And sometimes that's a little harder, but that's where success lives, right? And I think it's a very important conversation. And then, Rena, I would like to ask you, because I know you just had like a huge shift like the last like 6 months. It hasn't been like a long time of like unprecedented growth. It was just like last year. I feel like you and some of your leaders collaborated to make some tweaks and, you know, kind of, you know, shift some things around. And it just like this steady growth of success. And, you know, someone might say, well, it's because, you know, of TikTok, or it's because of this. No, it was way before all of that. It was you laying that foundation with you and your leaders. Could you talk about that? Could you talk about like the shift? Because I think there's probably some people on here that are kind of in that same situation in their business where, you know, they're maybe a little bit like, you know, stuck where it's, you know, it's good, but it's not great. It's doing pretty good, but it's like not growing at the pace they'd like it to. And there were some things that you did last year. And I think that's a big reason why you're experiencing the huge growth you are this year. So if you could talk about that, that would be amazing. Shoot, I got to unmute. See, I need Nadya. She left the room.
See? Well, first of all, I'm loving this conversation. This is like real talk. And I mean, it can go even more real because this is the reality, right? This is what happens in our industry. And I love that we're having this conversation because, you know, the rainbows and butterflies, it's great to always talk about it, but there's some real stuff that happens in our business, and it's just nice to be able to talk about it. But my core value is love. And I know that's going to sound really really yellow of me, but my core value is really, I love people, and I really love them. Like I believe in just really loving people where they're at and making sure that they feel like they're part of something, whether they have any desire level of in the business. And that's always been my driver. Always. It was like, okay, you know, you're
Rena, can you please say it again for the people in the back that weren't paying attention? Can you please say that one more time?
Yes, I will say it even louder. I love people regardless of what their desire in the business is. And that even means people that have no desire other than being part of the community. Like, I'm talking love, unconditional love. And when you create an environment where people, it's not just enough to say it, they have to feel it. They have, obviously, you don't maybe talk to people all the time that aren't in the business, because when you're moving and shaking, you're talking to people that are running with you. That's a natural thing. But it's important that they know, even though they're not running, that they're still valued and loved. And it's an energy. It's an energy. And I remember being part of, you know, environments where you didn't have to say anything to me. I knew you were disappointed in me. I knew you were, like you said, John, like if the person didn't come to the Saturday thing, you didn't have to even tell me why weren't you there. your energy told me that you were upset that I wasn't there. And I never wanted anyone to ever feel that way in my presence. That was very, very important to me because I had felt that before. And I was like, ew, that's a gross feeling. And this business is so individualized to the point where some people literally, they want to pay for diapers at the end of the month. Like, that's why they get into this business. And I know you always say that, Amber, like, you know, whether you want to make money for diapers or whether you want to, you know, go all the way, there's a home for you. And so I think the fundamentals of how I have built an organization is on that core value, which is just really, truly creating a home for people that know in their heart and in their core that whether they are big producers or not, that we are so happy that they're there. And the way they knew that is I tell them all the time, even if I sound repetitive and annoying and whatever, every single time. It's like, sometimes I'll put out a long post in the group and I'll just say, you know, it's time for me to share this reminder that you are such a valuable member of this team. And this team, every single human being that's part of this team, we're almost at 800 team members, you know, every single in the group, right? In the team group, every single person that's in that group matters to this community. And you can't just say it, you have to really mean it, because if you just say it, your energy could be saying something else. So that's the core. The other thing is, and Amber touched on this, but I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And so we talk about it all the time. So Jen, Sarah, and myself, so we do a lot of collaboration together. And they have strengths in them that I don't possess. You know, Jen is a systems driven numbers. She is so sharp. Sarah is super creative and she's social media queen, content creator. She inspires. And so we all bring a different level of energy and strength to the organization. And we don't push on things we're not good at. Like, I know I'm not the systems girl. It's just not my thing, right? That's Jen's thing, right? I know what I'm good at and I know what I'm not good at. And so what I've done is I've said, you're amazing at this. I'm not so amazing at this. Let's pull our strengths together. And when you can collaborate and like my whole thing, push people to the front of the room, get your butt in the back. You know, the more, like Amber said, you know, at the beginning, it was great, right? Like you, it's funny, John, you said, you know, what do you think the catalyst for this shift? I think I truly realized that I've always known it's not about me. Like, I've always truly known that. But the major shift this year is, how can I help as many humans as I can dig into what's important to them? That was the major shift. And like pushing people to the front, stepping back, spotlighting people, not caring about recognition. Like, I really, truly, that was a driver for me in those early years, like it is for many. It's not the same for me anymore. I'd rather my team be recognized. I'd rather, like when I see you interviewing teammates, I'm like, man, that makes me feel good. It makes me so proud. It makes me feel so happy because I love these people. I love them. I know how hard they work. And to see them being recognized that way, like, I don't want it to be the Rena show, like Amber said. That makes me feel weird. But some people, that's what they love. And then they end up ostracizing amazing people as opposed to bringing them in. And I mean, you're the master at that, John. Like, you really are the master of collaboration. Like John will put teammates in sidelines and like we all do group chats together. It's the coolest thing ever. Like, we all love each other. We all help each other because that's the culture. That's the culture. We're not competing. We're collaborating.
Well, first of all, that was like mic drop. Like, people are like chills. People are saying, Rena, you're so right. Collaboration, not competition. Delroy, amen. Tammy says, well said. Brittany says, love this. I mean, I had like so many thoughts going when you're like talking about that, but it's it really is what it's all about, right? And it's funny because you go, I don't care about recognition. And the sooner you get over that, the sooner you just stop caring about like, you know, my volume, my check. It's like you get more recognition. Your check goes up, your volume increases because you're making it about other people. And that's the other thing. It's like, and don't get it twisted. For those of you watching this, Rena's not saying not to recognize your people. She's saying she doesn't care about recognition.
Oh, exactly.
She recognizes people like crazy because she knows it's not about her. And when you go from the internal to the external of like, how can I help other people? How can I make it about them? And you know, it's kind of like what we talk about when it comes to prospecting too, right? It's like we get so selfish because we're worried about being rejected and we're worried about people judging us and starting small and looking foolish. And I don't want to do a live video like Amber talked about. I don't want to do a live video. Why do they say that? Because they're insecure and they don't want to mess it up and they don't want to look dumb. And by the way, no one wants those things. But the truth is when you go, you know what? It's not about me impressing my upline. I don't make any money on my upline. Upline, you're great, but I make $0 off of you approximately. I make money helping my people win, helping my people make money. And the funny thing is too, you also mentioned when you love people, whether or not they're producing, and somebody asks like, well, how do you recognize people that aren't really, you know, producing? Well, how about the person in your team chat that loves on other people's posts? How about the person in the team chat that answers questions? People that aren't even on their team, right? Like those are like my favorite people. And I'm like, I don't even know how much volume they're doing. I don't care. They're a team player. They're a part of this team. They're encouraging, supporting, they're positive. They speak life into other people. And you know what? If they never sell a single product, I don't care. They show up, they're a part of the team. Now, of course, if somebody's like literally doing nothing, we're not reaching out to people that are literally not responding to us or not engaging. But what we're saying is you love people where they are. And you let
I'll give you a great example of that. Because I know exactly what you're saying and it could get kind of misconstrued. So there are if somebody on your team is a contributor, like John's saying, like there's people on your team, you know, maybe they sell a couple $100 a month. Or more. We don't know what they sell, but they're doing a little bit, right? But they are a contributor. They show up to everything. They're in those chats. That's going to be my Friday spotlight. Yes. Every single Friday, we do a Friday spotlight on our team. If you're not doing it, I highly encourage you to do it because, I mean, a couple of weeks ago, Sarah did a spotlight on me. I was not expecting it. I was buckled to my knees. I could not believe how that post made me feel. And it was a reminder of how amazing it makes other people feel and how much I love that we do that every week. The leaders, okay, who are we celebrating today? On Friday, it's a staple on our team. We have a leaders chat and we say, does anybody have someone they want? And it's always the person that is making efforts and strides. It's not about the result. It's the person that's making the effort. It's the person that has, you know, that effort level. They show up, they contribute, and they're just such a great human. And we just want them to know it's not about your volume or your title. That means nothing to us. What means something to us is that you feel part of this. And those Friday spotlights, they just lift people's souls right up. And it's just such a powerful thing, you know, to have in your organization.
Well, it just, you know, it makes me think of like Vanessa and Beth on your team, right? Like they weren't like, you know, fast builders running and gunning, but they've just been consistent, just chipping away. I've never heard them complain. Maybe they complain to somebody, but I've never heard it. I doubt
they're
you.
Amazing.
Right. And they're just, you know, and it's like I said, is it a Canadian thing or a Rena team thing? It's just like the most like incredible humans. But at the end of the day, it's a person that, and these are our favorite success stories. Like, look, you know, sometimes people are like, John, how much money did you make, you know, your first month? And I'm like, you know, in this company, 17,000, I recruited 38 people, but I'm like, dude, let's go back 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I spent more than I made my first 2 years. And I think remembering how I started, remembering what it was like to struggle, remembering what it was like to sit in those seats and being like, I can never talk like those people. I can never be that type of leader. All the stinking thinking and limiting beliefs, but someone believed in me. Oof, I got chills. Like someone believed in me before I believed in myself. And having that community, that team camaraderie, that environment that's positive, unlike most people's jobs, most people's lives, and being able just to be a part of it, And it's interesting how you just love on them where they're at, that a year goes by, 2 years goes by, 3 years, 4 years, you're coming up on your 5-year anniversary, which doesn't it fly by? It's crazy. But now those people are having their biggest month. They're crushing it. They're stepping into their own, into their greatness and putting themselves out there. And yeah, it could be TikTok or Clubhouse, or it could be live videos. The strategy is not as relevant as the person being willing to step up, but it wouldn't have happened if you didn't have the right team culture and you didn't have that environment where people didn't feel bad for not being one of the big hitters. And this is something that all of you watching this, you need to take note on this, recognizing people and acknowledging people for what they're trying to do, or just being a part of the community is everything. And I'm telling you, those people will surprise you. You might not see it right now, but one day those are going to be your top people, and the loyalty they're going to have, the belief that they're going to have, it's going to be way better than the person that comes in, brings over a bunch of people and has fast success, because when their business plateaus, they're going to go, there's something wrong. It's your fault, her fault, my team's fault, the company's fault. I'm out of here. The loyalty isn't the same. So anyway, I'm sorry I went on a rant on that, but I had to say that because I just think it's so, and I think part of the reason that Amber and Rena are the way they are and the way I am, because we've experienced the opposite.
Lots of lows.
Yeah, but not just that, like we've experienced bad leadership. We've experienced what it's like, and you mentioned this, Rena, what it's like to like have a disappointed leader, right? To have a leader that like, you're not coachable. You're not doing what you got to do to be successful. And being a part of that type of culture, it's the most toxic, negative, the drama, all the stuff I talked about in the beginning that we don't experience when we have good culture. You experience all of the above when you have a bad culture. So anyway.
I don't know if I ever told you this, but this is an appropriate time. So I'm going to tell you this. And I actually shared this story on our leadership Zoom this morning. I think it was today. If not, it was recently. When I started here with you, I had a lot of MLM trauma. I had some serious PTSD. Like I was not the person you see now, that's for sure. And I remember my very first month, I'll never forget it. On the last day of the month, I was waiting for you to text me and ask me what my numbers were going to be. I might have told you this, I don't know. And you didn't do it in the first month. And then I was waiting for the second month. And I'm like, and I said to my husband, I'm like, he's not asking me about my volume. I was so conditioned. And I was always on edge thinking that I was never doing enough. You know, that message, so where do you think you're going to end the month? And it's like, you know where I'm going to end it. You could just go and check. You know what I mean? But you never did that. To this day, it's been 5 years. I mean, maybe you'll say, I think this is going to be your biggest month, but you never, ever made me feel any kind of way, whether I was running, what you always just respected my journey. And that's why I'm still here.
Yeah.
5 years later. And it's just a testament, you know, to that just good quality and just being a good person.
Yeah. Well, you know, and it's treating people as a business partner. It's treating people as a friend. And, you know, we talk about this all the time, friends first, marketer second. Look, I love making money. I love having success, but I've experienced a lot more joy, a lot more fulfillment, not having that mentality. And you know, if you have an upline that is like that, we're not saying it's a bad thing necessarily, because honestly, there's different personalities, there's different styles. Like I'm not the best leader, the perfect leader. I just felt like there were things that repelled me. There were things that I just didn't get down with. Like, you know, and this is probably common sense, but like if a leader says they're going to be somewhere, they better freaking be there. And if they say they're going to do a training, they better do the training. If they say, I got your back, and then I can't reach them. Like, and I'm not saying you got to respond to messages. I think one of you mentioned this, right? Your phone goes off all the time, right? Sometimes it sounds like a slot machine. Like I mute all chats. My phone is muted 24/7. Like it's just, all things are muted, because otherwise it would just, I can't even imagine, ding, 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 ding. But I'm going to respond when I respond. And if you don't feel that I responded fast enough, which most people say that I'm like lightning fast, which is true.
Yeah, we don't know how you do it.
First of all, if he's not lightning fast, I'm sending another message like, John, are you alive?
We're concerned.
Why are you ignoring me? What did I do? Are you mad?
I'll have like PTSD sometimes when I think about like how I used to like literally get on the phone with everyone and three-way call. Like, Johnny, need a three-way call. Like, right now? Yeah, right now. Like, all right, I'm in bed, but let me, go downstairs or just do it from bed. Like, oh.
But like people forget that like if you stop like, and this was painful, and I want to point out to you guys, like if you've done any of the things we've talked about, like where are you gonna end with your numbers? Like know this, we've done it too. Okay, and I could give you a whole list of times that I was a real crappy leader. And
Right.
even to this day, right? Like even to this day, there are times where I'm like, you know what? I need to rewind what I just said and take that back. And I need to try again. And I need to apologize for being whatever it was, right? Like we're still human. And so this came from a lot of years of experience to do that. But like what I learned is if you stop answering so quickly, people figure it out them damn selves, right? Like how many times do you get messages where it's like, oh, what about this ingredient? And if I ignore it long enough,
never mind.
Right. Never mind. I found it.
Right. And my favorite response ever is seeing the never mind pop up because then I pop in and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I missed that. This was the easiest question I've answered all day. Like, I just make light of it. But guess what? They learn to run their own business. And again, you make yourself replaceable. So it is important. Like, I used to think that, like, look, I'm going to be honest. There's no such thing as a network marketing emergency.
No,
there's just not.
Right.
And so why do you have to treat it that way? And so I just like stop answering sometimes, or I slow it down and then they start to look, or, they say, I already looked there. And then at least I feel better that they attempted. But you can't build a culture where, it's not even the culture for yourself. Like, I don't want my team to ever feel burned out. Like, I don't want to set this unrealistic expectation of what leadership looks like and then see some of my best friends burned out and never want to be in this industry again, right? Like, I don't want them to look at what Amber does and go, oh, to make Amber DeLoof money, I've got to, like there are times where I see John who answers me quickly, right? And I'm like, dang, John and I are different. And this is another side note. We're all at different parts of our life, right? We're all at different seasons. Yeah. Like there's certain things, like I tell people all the time, I want John Melton money, but not for another 5 or so years when my kids are a little bit older, right? Because the John Melton money requires a different level of leadership that I'm just not quite ready for yet. And that's okay because Amber DeLoof money is fantastic,
it's
just so we're clear, right? It's okay. But like, I think don't look at any of us and go, well, they do X, Y, and Z and I got to like switch it all up. Like take a tip or two and start to implement that and realize that we got here by tripping a whole lot. I mean, I can't speak for these two, but like I've fallen on my face a whole lot in my leadership with boundaries, with how I speak to people, with how I don't always love them where they are, right? Like that's been a really big lesson. And I think that's why we've grown as much as we have in the last 4 years is because I've seen people like the Johns and the Renas and how they do that. And, if you build the right culture, that team's going to go to battle for you. You know what I mean? Like we're rallying some really cool stuff for John Melton because he's built this culture where we all want to go to battle for John. My team would lace up and go to battle for me any day of the week because they know that I would do the same thing for them without question. And so I think that that's just really, it's just pull Rena and be yellow and just love the heck out of your team. Like, love the heck out of them so that they have no choice but to know that like you've always got their back. Like just be, I mean, it is. I've got leaders who are like, I'm here still because no one else does what you do. Like not even like the answering the messages and the chats. It's no one's going to love them where they are the same way, right? Like anyone know Jordan Leveck? I know John has highlighted her before, but like I remind her at least once every quarter that we are not burning out. I always tell her, I'm like, Jordan, we are going to make a lot of money together for many, many years to come. And that's why you slow down a little bit right now because you're going to burn out. Like I can sense that with my leaders. How many people in this industry would let their leaders burn out? Like they let them run for you and burn out. Like I don't do that. And so it's important to me. I have the same conversations with Kagan Parker. I have the same ones with Krista and Susie. Like at some point you got to watch that burnout because we're here for the long haul. And so you just got to learn those lessons and build a culture that will take you, a legacy, build you a legacy. So.
Amen. No, it's interesting, right? Because sometimes you do you do feel guilty if like you don't respond to a message right away, or, you know, you're not available for something. And it's like, for me, I might ask somebody to host a Saturday call and they're like, oh, but I'm out of town. And I'm like, dude, it's like literally all good. Like, I'm just asking you, it's more of a, hey, you're awesome, be cool to have you host it. But hey, if you can't do it, or you want to do a different Saturday, or never, literally, I don't care. Like, it is just like a thing I'm asking you to do. If you can do it, great. If not, no big deal, which is funny because I know anytime I pull that on you, Amber, you're always like, I'm like, well, I can just get someone else to do it. No big deal. Every time I think you're like, don't do that to me. Like, of course now I have to do it because I can't have someone else.
You know, first of all, you are 100% right. Nothing makes me madder than you telling me you'll just find someone else to do it. So then I'm like, fine, John, let me tell my kids I can't be present for the next 2 hours while I do this for you. But it's true. Like, and if you message me for a Saturday call, I always find you someone, because that stresses me out more than anything else in the world. And it's not because I don't want to show up. It's because technology of a team call scares me. But it's true. Like, I'll do the same thing. I'll do that stuff to my team because that's what John has to. Don't worry about it. If you can't, I'm going to ask such and such. And they're like, oh, heck no, she's not going to ask someone else to do that. Yeah. So, you know, learn to just knock those little baby birds right out of the nest, even if they don't want to be. I'll find someone else.
Yeah. And I think the final thing too, with team culture, one of the big things is just patience. It does take time to develop the quality team culture. Maybe we could close that out, Rena. What do you think about that? Because that's probably, if I had to think about all the challenges as entrepreneurs, network marketing leaders, like, it's so hard to be patient and not like get frustrated with like a leader that isn't stepping up, or the team isn't growing as quickly as other teams, right? That comparitis kicks in. And I think, you know, Gary Vaynerchuk is crazy. I will say this. He's crazy, but he's also crazy brilliant. And he is probably, out of all the people that have influenced me on patience, he's probably the best one at it, because I don't think there's any entrepreneur that isn't impatient, but it is a must. It's just like parenting, man. Like, sometimes your kids, you're like, maybe if I just had one less. No, but you're like, I have to be patient with them because, by the way, not an awesome kid, especially my teenage years. Holy hell, I feel bad for my mom and dad, especially my mom. But at the end of the day, patience is a virtue that you must embrace in a business like this. So, Rena, maybe you could close it out talking about the patience of how long it took to get to that point where you're like, man, we are good right now. Like, our team culture is legit.
Well, let me first start by saying that your journey is your journey. And this is, it's so easy to be like, oh, all these network marketers and their cliche statements and, you know, just faith it till you make it and have the patience and this, that, and the other. But, you know, I was having a conversation with one of the most amazing women on our team. And I'll never forget, actually, Vanessa shared this on the team call. So I'm going to share this, but I think it was in October. We had talked on the phone. She was very emotional and she was going through a hard time. And I remember talking to her and I said, Vanessa, I said, you remind me of where I was exactly in this time at this place in my journey in 2016. Let me tell you a little story. And I said, one day you are going to think back to this moment right here where you're so emotional and so frustrated and so upset, and you are going to appreciate it so much that you're going to say it's what you're most grateful for. And that's how I feel about my struggles, without getting emotional right now. That's how I feel about my struggles, because how could I lead Vanessa down a path I've never walked? How could I help anybody in this business if I didn't get bumps and bruises myself? I didn't have fast success. I started over again after working my tail off for almost 5 years. And I didn't want to start over again, but I guess I was egotistical at that time. And I'm like, I have to do it. I have to prove myself right. My ego was my driver. And I guess in some ways it was a positive thing.
Right.
And, you know, I do want to share this because a lot of people don't know this about me. And just to share, Vanessa, from that conversation to where she is today, she is one of the #1 customer pods in the entire country of Canada. And when I say customer pods, like we're talking over 30,000 a month. Like that's
Crazy.
I can't even comprehend it. So just to kind of give you that perspective of how just loving and continuing to just build people up, just build them up and be that shoulder and be that voice and just remind them why they started, remind them what you've overcome. But John knows this because in 2020, at the beginning of the year, I was in a really rough place. And my business was not looking like it is right now. And that was what, literally just over a year ago. I messaged John. It was so funny. I messaged him and I said, John, can you hop on the phone with me? And he's like, what happened? What's going on? Because that I never, ever, ever, ever do that. And I think that was the first time I ever did that. He was like, is everything okay? What's going on? I'm like, yeah, I just need to talk to you. I was like so emotional. I was so frustrated. And he poured into me and he reminded me of a couple of things I needed to hear that day. And I just one foot in front of the other, one foot in front of the other. And, now we're things are just in a growth season.
Yeah.
It's a growth season. Is it always going to be a growth season? No, it's a growth season. And it's because of the years and years and years of falling flat on my face, getting made fun of, getting laughed at, sacrificing time with my children, pushing them to the side so I could do a live video, telling them, hold on, wait a second, be quiet. I got to do this. Mommy will be back soon. It's not easy, you guys. It's not easy. But I will tell you this again, without sounding cliche. Love people where they're at wholeheartedly and let them know how much you love them. Let them know that you appreciate them and have zero expectations of people. The minute you can release expectations, you set yourself free and you become a happier person and you build up your inner peace. And those have been some of the secrets to my longevity in this business is love, hard work, and continuing to pick myself up and just help more people. That's it.
I heard a cool quote yesterday. The lady said, stop trying to be a unicorn and be a workhorse. She goes, all the unicorns are workhorses anyway. That's how they became a unicorn. Yeah. And it really is funny because you touched on this, you nailed it. It's like, if you had like fast success, like you got into network marketing and it was like, right, first company, millionaire in the first year, it's like your story would suck. Like literally people would hate you. And the real truth is, on a serious note, people would just, like when they come to you with struggle, like you couldn't even coach them through it. Like I'm so grateful, even though at the time I didn't feel that way, but I'm so grateful. It took me 7 years of struggle, failing forward to finally crack a 6-figure income. And then even getting to a 6-figure income, going full-time in network marketing, leaving a company. Then they all came after me and it was brutal. And just that you talked about the ugliness of like leaving a company and just, people you consider friends and people you love, they turn their back on you and it's just like a brutal situation. And I also realized I'm never going to be that type of leader either. Like if you leave a company and you're, doing bad things, you don't want my wrath. Like I'm gonna protect my team and you're going to be in trouble. It's not going to be good for you. But if you leave and you're respectful and you do it the right way, like, hey man, look, I hope you crush it selling, Cutco knives instead of, making residual income off, consumable products that people are going to buy the rest of their life. That's fine. If that's what you want to do, I'm sorry.
You had to do it.
But, it's like, have fun, love people where they're at, all the things you said, and realize that like, the mistakes, the failure, the embrace the suck, like all that struggle makes you a much more awesome leader later. It's hard to see that. It's hard to believe that. Right? When you're in the thick of it. But one day when you get on the other side of it, you'll be like, damn, this is why it took so freaking long, because you have so much more gratitude and appreciation. And people are like, you're so obsessed with what you do. You obviously love it and all this. That's because I know how hard it was to get here.
Yeah.
And if I didn't go through all that ish, like I wouldn't appreciate if I was making this kind of money 20 years ago, or even 10 years ago, 5 years ago, I would not have the appreciation that I have today. So Amber, any closing thoughts? We wrap this up. I know we've been going for like 80 minutes, but we still have 126 people on live. Smash the heart button if you're loving Rena and Amber and all their content. But Amber, if you have anything you want to say to close it out, let me know. And,
I only have one really quick thing, and it is culture can't be built alone. So like you heard everything we said, and John said, you know, it could take a while. It's going to take forever if you're trying to build a culture for your team by yourself. You know, it wasn't until the culture of my team was shaken and I got a message, and I'm sure she's not on here, she's busy, but Kagan Parker messaged me and she's like, dude, we got to figure this out. Like, people are not going to stay if we don't figure out how to do this. And dude, that's a hard conversation, right? Like, it's a hard conversation to be like, man, is something wrong with the team culture? How do I fix it? And so it really took digging in with my team and my leaders to say, what is important to you? Like, just when you're setting boundaries with your family and you have to ask what's important to you, like I had to ask my leaders, what is important to you? Where is it important that Amber shows up? Where is it important that you're highlighted? Where is it important that your team gets highlighted? What is important to you? And so it became a hard conversation to find out all the things that maybe I wasn't doing right? Or other leaders weren't doing right, or whatever. But it's, team culture can't just be like sprinkling some recognition and doing Friday spotlights like Rena talked about, which are amazing, but it's not as simple as just sprinkling little things and hoping it'll come together. Like, a culture is built with a team. And, you know, John, I can speak, Rena and I have been around almost the same amount of time. And I can speak to this and say, John's culture wasn't like it is now 4 years ago when I started here. It took a lot of I remember, I'll call John out a little bit. I remember when John was like, dude, I'm afraid to like put all of our top leaders into like a chat together because like because when you sign someone from another company, what happens? It's just like John said, those are the first people who will walk away when ish gets really hard because they've done it before, they'll do it again. Right. And so it became a very different situation when his culture weeded out certain people, and the people that were still here and still fighting could link together. Right. And I mean, I can't speak for John's whole team, but I will. Like, the last year has been incredible, and even more so these last 6 months, because those leaders have really dug in together. And so John didn't do that on his own. Like, John didn't build that culture, right? Like, John cultivated leaders who could cultivate that culture, but he didn't do it on his own. I didn't do it on my own. Rena talked about her leaders she worked with to do it. And so just know that it's a team effort. And even if you have to work with your uplines, other teams, right? Like, build your own sideline cultures. Like, I work with sidelines all the time. I do team calls for sidelines all the time, but like, you've got to dig in and really work with people to build that culture. And so if I could say anything, don't be a cult leader, right? Like, I think that's the biggest thing. We come from other team. And how many of you have been on a team where the leader is cult-like? Like, people have this undying cult-like devotion. Like, I don't want that. Right. And we can all probably please don't. Right. So I mean,
and you know what? That's an old school mentality. Like, I literally just had someone the other day tell me that in their company, rhymes with Scamway. I'm gonna say it, I don't care, because I don't like that mentality. And literally, this guy's like, he's like, in our team, we're not allowed. He goes, it's frowned upon and even encouraged to not friend up or talk to sideline.
You know why though? Because if someone leaves. That's why, because if someone leaves, if you're friends with them, they might go too. So, you know, it can't,
scarcity.
You can't
living in scarcity.
Exactly, for sure. And if you build a culture based on just you are building a cult. And so it really becomes important that you know that it takes a while to build culture. None of us got here overnight, and it changes, right? Based on our business. Like, John's team culture has cultivated into something so awesome in the last 12 to 18 months. And so, but he didn't do it alone. And so if I could say anything, it would be dig in with those leaders, find out what they need, what your culture needs, and really just decide to go head in. Because if you don't have culture, you can have success. It's not going to stay. It will not stay. It will fall apart without culture. So I think it's important to take the time to do that with your team.
Amen. Love it. I don't know about y'all, but this is like one of the best Money Mondays I've ever been a part of. And I'm the one that runs them every week. So if you loved it, if you got value from it, let us know in the comments. Definitely follow Rena and Amber, two of the best leaders I know, two of the best leaders I've worked with. Yes, I'm biased, but that doesn't mean it's not true. So make sure you love, smash the hard button, drop some comments, let them know how much you appreciate them pouring into you and your teams the last 85 minutes. And join us every single Monday, Money Monday, 5 p.m. Eastern, where we do these types of trainings to help you, help your network marketing teams, help your businesses become more profitable, creating more freedom, more success, more joy, more happiness, all the things. And we'll see you next time. Rena, Amber, you guys are amazing. Love you both. Hasta luego.
Love you guys.